I'm reading how many? Oh. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Hopefully, my little skit wasn't too terribly corny, but my reaction to the number of books was totally true. I did not know until just now that I am reading 130 books. Well, series. Well, there's there's a couple of standalones mixed in there with the series, but there's most of those are series. If I had to take a guess, I would say about maybe 110 to 120 of those are series and the rest are standalones. But I digress. I know I'm crazy. I have ADHD and my brain is just a chaotic mess. And sometimes my brain will be like, I want to dive into everything about this particular topic and just go. And then sometimes my brain is like, no, okay, I'll read the first book here, then I'll go read the second book of that series over there, and then let me start another series over here, just because that's just my brain. Now, how do I keep track of them all? I use a program called Notion. It is internet web based, and it is fantabulous. Totally not sponsored. To keep track of all of my reading chaoticness. Now, why don't I use something that is quite very popular amongst all booktubers and just people who like reading in general, like a bullet journal? I have in the past. I love bullet journaling. I love planners, pre-made and, making it myself, but my brain just can't handle. I just My brain just can't handle it. I use a mixture of both. I use a pre-made planner to keep track of like my appointments and my tasks, my to-dos, anything that might be happening like within a set date. But when it comes to like the collection portion of bullet journals, I find that me writing them down is just not enough because I change my mind way too often that it just becomes a mess and I just don't want to use it anymore. So something like Notion really greatly helps me out with that. Because I can just change it on the fly and it'll look neat and tidy. I currently use the free version of Notion. It suits my needs, but Notion has a couple of paid plans. I'm pretty sure their lowest subscription model that they offer is $8, and then they have some business models and some pro models. But the free version is actually really quite generous. In fact, why don't I show you right now on how I keep track of all of these series and how I organize my chaotic brain? All right, so this is my Notion. I've got like a few other things going on here that I keep track of, but my biggest thing for me is my book tracker, which is this one right here. It's a lot. It's excessive. And this isn't even all of it, but I'll show you that in a few minutes. Now, Notion does come with a template version that you can use that for me did not suit my needs. It wasn't enough, but it did give me like a bouncing board to go off of. I very much liked their all option, as you can see here. Like it looks very similar. This I thought was very useful. I was not particularly a fan personally of these cards that they offer. I can't remember what they call these. What do they call them? Layout gallery. They call them galleries. But I personally very much liked the table options that they do. So you can always find the templates here And the reading list one is right there, and you can get template, and it's a free template. But let's go back to my reading tracker. Now, I have a bunch of sorts. These are the names of series. Let me see about one here. Outlander. Obviously, there's more than 3 books. There's 9 books, I believe, currently. Oh, God, I hope she hasn't added a 10th one, but I just kind of put the first one out here. This one, whoops, this one right here is, I believe, a novella prequel that I put, but like the very first book and then the second book. And this is a side peek view. You can always like do a full view and add more, and you can obviously add check marks to check off how. That's how I normally do it. I check mark the books that I've completed when I'm done them. But going back, so I keep track of like, this is the book that I'm currently reading right here. I have a tracker or a status, I guess I should say, of like if I'm listening to an audiobook for walking or on the drive, I will put that one there. I've got my library loans, my current TBR. These are all physical TBR. I've told myself, as I've mentioned in a previous video, I want to complete reading all of the books that I currently own on my Kindle. It's not going very well, let me just say. And then these are all of the books that I have on hold from the library. And then these are all the books that I want to do. And then these are the books that I'm currently waiting for releases to come out. I even put the dates. I put the library return date for when these are coming out. I just kind of like combined the two, but I keep track of everything: number of pages, number of books, whether they were a 2023 release, the authors, whether the series is completed or not. Actually, there's a good mix. There's a good mix of them in there. And how I keep all of this sorted is through sorts and filters. I like to have the status be ascending. I have the library return date ascending, just so that way I'm reading the library books that are going to be taken away from me sooner than others. I'm also currently trying really hard to keep on top of new releases this year that are coming out, reading those first. And then this one's kind of like me doing quantity versus over quality, where if all of these are met, then I'm hopefully reading books in terms of shortest to longest, so I can read more books rather than books I want. But I can always just, take this away and do a different sort. Let me see here. Maybe like prioritize all of the book club picks over the years instead of others, and it resorts them all. So, and then now I normally don't, this is my main tracker. This is the base. I don't normally look at all of these all at once. I normally only look at, up to my holds, 42. Much more digestible to my brain. But it doesn't mean that I can't still access this information. So what I do is I'll make separate pages and do something that Notion offers, like a linked database, because this is what this tracker is a data. It's a database. It's a database specifically for a table. But I can set up a linked database. It's what these little arrows are. And I can filter and sort to have only show the to-dos or the books that I'm waiting for, or even the series and books that I've DNF'd. Just to be clear, soft DNFs for me aren't meaning that I will never return to this book. It's more like I'm not interested. I'm probably not going to get to these books within a year or maybe even 2, considering how many books I have in my to-do and in my TBR. But that doesn't mean I've given up on them completely. Hard DNFs, I'm more than likely not going to ever return to. Um, and how I create those, let me actually make one for you just to show you how it's done. So I'm going to go into my media section, add a page. I'm going to, let me see here, add a table, and then I'm going to, instead of making a new database, I'm going to link it to my tracker, and it's going to look kind of a mess, but oh, it's pulling up my fanfic section of the media. Let me see, edit view, source. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Oh, I see. Oh, so I got to fix the tags. So let me do books, rename. Let me do books, rename. Let me see, these are done. I'm going to have this one be like purely to pat myself on the shoulder, and then sorts. Let me see here. Add filter. Let me see, status, done. There we go. Let me hide this because we know that we're in books only. There we go. Then rename it to done, completed. Sorry for my clicky clacky mechanical keyboard and my clicky clicky mouse. But yeah, there we go. Save. And then I'm going to give it a little icon. Let me see here. I'll just give it that one. So yeah. And then I can also calculate how many, count all. Come on. There we go. 44. Not so much a pat in the back, but yeah, if I ever want to keep track of how all of the ones that I've completed, I've just created a new table. And that's how I keep track of all of my media. As you could probably see, there was at the top, I had other things that I keep track of as well, like TV shows, movies, fan fiction, even as well. They're not quite as verbose as my book section, but I use the Notion table to keep track of that as well. And that's basically it. Let me know if you want me to dive into anything more specific about it, or if you have questions about my reading table. It's a lot. I'm still very much learning on how to use Notion, and the table itself is ever evolving and getting bigger and changing all the time as my brain is like, I want to keep track of this instead. How do I figure this out? And it's not really very hard. There's actually quite a lot of tutorials and guides like everywhere on the internet. There are even quite a few YouTubers on here. Like to do tutorials about it. And yeah, that's how I do it. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about, and like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.